He just got under the water and he was rock solid. He did not move unless he wanted to move. And he'd just hang around at a safety stop at 5 meters, just nailed to the spot, not going up, down, forwards, backwards, left, right, just with his arms folded and just hanging around underwater. And that's the kind of diver I want to be.
Off-Gassing, a Scuba podcast with host Nick Hogel. For several years, Simon Bailey flirted with diving before becoming certified. Eventually earning his certification, he fell in love with the sport as so many of us do. One thing led to another, and he would find himself 11 years out of the water. In this episode, I sit down with him and speak about his journey back to the aquatic environment, his second first breath, his blog, simonbdiving, getting out of his comfort zone, planning a path forward, an appreciation for the scuba community, a love of cold water, and much more. Please enjoy. Simon, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing this morning?
Very well, thanks, Nick. Thanks for having me. It's early morning, sun is out, looks like it might be a nice day, so I'm excited.
Awesome. And where are you located again?
I'm in North Wales, which is part of the UK. So basically, if you think of the UK as a big long sausage, there's a bit that sticks out on the left. Yeah, on the left. I live on the top of that bit that sticks out in the middle.
Okay. So a sunny day, I hear that's sometimes rare in the UK. Is that true?
Yeah, it feels like we haven't. I mean, last year weather was really bad. The year before that, the weather was really good. So it feels like we've had about 16 months of winter right now. So it's about time that the spring turns up, and spring is definitely coming. It's nice. Winters get dark and cold around here. Not as bad as Scandinavia, but yes, they get dark and cold and wet.
Well, I am excited to hear about your journey, hear about your story. So, my first question I want to throw out there is, tell me how and why you got into scuba diving. Tell me about that journey. Tell me about that first breath underwater.
I first sort of came into contact with scuba diving when I was 15, I think, 15, 16. We were on holiday in Florida and we spent a few days down on the Florida Keys and we went snorkeling. So we went out on a boat out to a reef. I have no idea where it was. It was probably out of Key Largo or the next one along. And I don't know if the reef was north or south. Like I said, I was like 14 or 15 at the time. We went snorkeling, but the shop that we went out from had this big poster there about all the different ways you could get into diving. And that was fascinating. So I thought, okay, I want to go diving. And then Paddy Dive Master right at the bottom. And it was, Dive Master, that sounds really cool. I want to be a dive master. So that was my first contact with scuba diving. And then at the time we were living in Austria. So went back to the mountains. There's not much diving in Austria. There's not much sea. And then it was, okay, it's probably something you can only do on holiday. As a skint teenager, that's not going to happen. So I didn't actually get around to diving for a very long time. Probably when I was about 20, 21, my family was on holiday in Malta and they went and did a try dive. I wasn't with them. The next year we all went to Malta and we didn't do a try dive. So I was a bit disappointed about that. Then fast forward another couple of years and this was now 2004. So I was 25. Yeah, 25. And I was on a holiday in Croatia with my girlfriend at the time at the campsite. And then this guy sort of walked through giving out flyers, come and do a try dive. So I thought, fuck it, yes. 25 euros for a try dive or something. So it was, yeah, we can fit that in our holiday kitty. And it was like a couple of miles down the road from the campsite. So I went down there and did a try dive and it was a bit rubbish.
Rubbish?
Yeah, it was just out of a sandy beach and it had been stormy for a few days. So visibility wasn't very good. There was almost nothing to see, but it was fantastic as well at the same time. So my girlfriend at the time, she was having problems with actually getting down. She was slightly underweighted and she just couldn't relax enough to breathe out to get down. So I was sort of kneeled on the bottom, 5 meters of water, looking around, looking up, seeing them flapping around on the surface. And it was just, oh my God, I'm in this alien world and it is amazing. I want to do more of this. Went back from holiday, broke up with the girlfriend a few months later, and it was still something you can only really do when you're on holiday. And then as a broke student, not really something that was going to be happening either. So nothing happened. Fast forward a couple of years, some friends of mine started getting into free diving. So, and the Water Rescue Association in Innsbruck, they had the university diving pool every Saturday for like 3 hours. So best hangover cure ever is go and lie on the bottom of a pool for a couple of minutes. It's surreal, it's relaxing, and so I started getting into freediving at that point. So it was sort of over the winter, and then they changed their training days that clashed with an orchestra rehearsal, so I couldn't do the training days. So I never got sort of really deep into it, but I still kept going on the Saturdays, just sort of lying around in the pool, just doing static apnea, basically, just diving down to 4 meters, put a weight belt on your chest, and then just sort of hang around. It's meditation. It's just fantastic. And like I said, it's a fantastic hangover cure. So,
They should put that in the brochures.
yeah, so I did that for a few years, and then so got more involved with Water Rescue Association. Then met my previous girlfriend, and she joined the Water Rescue as well. And then she started getting into the free diving. She actually enjoyed it, and then they were offering some scuba try dives, so in the pool. So we did that. And it was, yes, this is fantastic. Let's do this. They did a decent price on the course because we were club members. And so we learned to scuba dive in Austria. It was a CMAS certification. So it was CMAS affiliated because it was a water rescue association. It was very, very focused on safety. I remember the second open water dive, I could see my hand here. I couldn't see my hand there. It was so. I mean, it was basically zero visibility. The only reason I could see my instructor next to me was because he had his lamp on his right shoulder. He was off to my right, and I could see the shadow of where he was. I couldn't see him. That was the second open water dive, and it was 6 degrees C, which is under 40 Fahrenheit, probably.
Pretty cold, yeah.
Pretty cold. It was cold, and this was in a 7 mil semi-dry with an ice vest and gloves, so it was chilly. And so we had six open water training dives like that. We'd done a number of pool sessions beforehand. We'd done weeks of theory. It felt like, but I think it was probably only like 4 or 5 classroom sessions. But then we were qualified to dive. Just did more diving in the lakes. In the summer, the visibility cleared up, and it was absolutely fantastic. We went to Italy for a week, did some diving near Portofino. And when I booked the dives there, the guy said, "You do know that this is a cold water area, right?" So I said, "Okay, what do you mean by cold?" He said, "Yeah, it's 19, 20 degrees. We might get 22. So I said, "Yeah, that's fine." We got there, basically. This was our first trip away to go diving, and we drove there because it was just over the hills from Austria. So we got there. He looked at our logbooks. I had, I think, 12 dives. Eva had 9 dives, and he said, "Yeah, we're probably going to recommend you do some more courses, right? We'll go out for a check dive with the dive master." So we went out, did an amazing dive, and then he came back and said, "Can I see your logbooks again, please?" So he sort of looked through the logbooks. He said, "How have you guys only got this few dives with the quality of diving that you're showing?" So we just said, "Well, yeah, we've been learning to dive in lakes which are cold and dark." So he said, "What do you mean?" "Yeah, 6 to 8 degrees, like 0 to half a meter of visibility." And he said, "Okay, you can't make that shit up. We don't need the dive master. We don't need any more courses. Let's go out for some more fun dives." So
that's awesome.
The quality of training was really, really good. And then, so for me, it was clear all of our instructors, they were all tech divers. So their regular kit up was dry suits, twin sets, long hose, 2 first stages, all the rest. And these guys underwater, they were absolutely amazing. I mean, there was one of the guys above water, absolutely hyper, amazing guy. But as soon as he got in the water, it was like someone had just flipped a switch and turned him off. He just got under the water and he was rock solid. He did not move unless he wanted to move. And he'd just hang around at a safety stop at 5 meters, just nailed to the spot, not going up, down, forwards, backwards, left, right, just with his arms folded and just hanging around underwater. And that's the kind of diver I want to be. And so that was clear for me at the time. That is the kind of diver I want to be. So how do I get there? Okay, these guys are all tech divers. Probably something to do with that. They're all cave divers. Might be something to do with that. And they've all got like 2,500, 3,000 dives. Might have something to do with that as well. So where do I want to be? And they're instructors, and they're all very good instructors, so they can all teach really well because they're all really nice guys and they're all really good divers. So at the time, it was fairly clear for me, where do I want to go? I want to get into tech diving. I want to be an instructor, and I want to be that fucking good in the water that I can just hang around and not move at all. So we dived for a couple of years. I then got qualified as a rescue diver. not an agency rescue diver, but a rescue diver through the Rescue Association. And then life happened and we stopped diving. So that was 2012. We moved to a different town and then we took our dive gear, and then it was always, next year we'll get back into diving. So next year. Then next year something else happened. Next year something else happened. Yeah, so we sort of kept kicking the can down the road, and at some point we actually never got back into diving. We broke up 2017, 2018. I then moved back to the UK, brought my dive gear with me. So I basically took a mental health gap year because my life had fallen apart and burnout and shit. Basically, everything was in a bad way. So I took a year out, came back to the UK, became a boat builder for a year, which was absolutely amazing. Then moved to North Wales because the company I used to work for, they offered me a job back. They said, look, you can go and live anywhere you want in Europe. You can basically pick your job. Just please come back and work for us because we want you back. So always wanted to live in North Wales. My dad lives here. It's a beautiful part of the world. There's no work for me here, but bringing the work with me, I can live here. So I moved here to North Wales. Yeah, so my dive gear was basically in my guest room with all of my other outdoor kit, and I kept bumping my feet against it. And next year I'll get into diving. Next year I will definitely be diving again. One of those next years was COVID, so that didn't happen. But then it was always next year. And then last year, next year I'll get into diving. And then it was, stop being silly, put a date on it. So it will be 2024, I will start diving again. So that was my plan. That January, February 2024, I sort of had a think, what do I want to do with diving? It's still clear for me, I want to go to the tech route. I want to become an instructor because I'm a firm believer in teaching people makes you better, because it just means that you've got to be so fucking good yourself that it will just be that you can teach it. And it's experience has shown that teaching people teach powerboating, but my experience has been that just from teaching, my own powerboating has improved immensely. So that's definitely where I want to go. And tech diving, because I want to be able to stay down longer. I want to be able to do calm, safe, relaxed, deep dives. So, okay, plan was January, February 2024, work out how I can start diving again here in North Wales, if there are clubs around here and all that stuff. So kicked the ball down the line a little bit and decided it was going to be January, February 2024. I will work everything out. So last year, September, I went on a road trip. So I took my truck and a roof tent and I went to the Faroe Islands and I went to Iceland. And that was a hell of a trip. When I was sort of looking at things to do in Iceland, I came across Silfra, which is the continental rift where you can go diving between the continents. It's a bit of a misnomer. It's actually a massive rift valley that just happens to have a lake in the middle, and that rift does get a little bit wider every now and then. But if so, you can say yes, that is the Eurasian plate, and that is the American plate. But at the end of the day, it's not clear cut where those plates actually go apart. But still, you've dived between the continents. But to do that, you need a dry suit certification. I didn't have a dry suit ticket, and I hadn't dived in 11 years, so that's the 16,000 days surface interval, give or take. So I did a little bit of research, just thought, okay, I'll get a dry suit ticket now, and then January, February 2024, I will sit down and work it all out again. So ended up getting in contact with Claire from, at the time it was Dutton's Dive, it's now called Phoenix, because she merged it with her wife and a big dive centre, long story. So I got in touch with her. She said, yeah, we can do a dry suit course for you. Can you do next Friday? Yeah, I can do next Friday. Let's go diving. So went to the quarry. I was very, very nervous because do I still know how to put a kit together? Do I still know how BCD works? Do I still know how to breathe underwater? And so I was quite nervous about it. So I told the instructor, look, I haven't dived for 12 years, or 11 or 12 years. Not sure what it's going to be like. Never dived with a dry suit. So he said, yeah, we'll just go down into the cage. So they've got, in the quarry, we've got a cage which is, it's got two levels. It's got like a 1.5 meter level and a 3 meter level, and then from that cage you go out into the open water. So he said, we'll go into the cage. We'll do some confined water skills first, and then we'll just sort of work out where we are from there. And yeah, we did all the confined water skills. And then after about 5 minutes, went out into the quarry. Went down to the training platform, 6 meters, did the dry suit skills, and then we went for a swim around the quarry. And then after about 30 minutes, we came up. And then he said, yeah, I actually confused him a bit because he was expecting to spend 30 minutes in the cage just doing skills refresh. So I obviously hadn't forgotten how to dive, but it was fantastic. It was so good to be making bubbles again. It was one of the best feelings ever. And I just realised how much I'd missed it. And then after that, the day before, Claire had put out a job announcement looking for skippers to work at the dive centre part-time. So I'd been thinking of applying for that. And then Lucas said, yeah, I need to go to the dive centre to have a chat to Claire anyway about getting my C cards put into the SSI app and just getting the dry suit stuff signed off. So I went over to the dive centre. Then Claire said, so what's next for diving? So I said, well, I wanted to be a tech diver. I wanted to be an instructor. I think that's still valid, but not really sure where I go from here. I need a dry suit, I need a wing, and I need rigs. She said, leave that with me, we'll see what we can do. A couple of days later, I got an email from her saying, okay, these are the courses I'd recommend, this is the equipment I'd recommend, this is the price it will cost you, we can get started whenever you want. And it was, okay. My planning for January, February 2024 has just been completed in the space of a couple of days in August 2023. Yeah, I mean, it's funny how life happens sometimes. It's just like, it sounds really hooky, but it's sort of, I'm a firm believer in, if you let the universe know what's going to be happen, what you want to happen, at some point the universe will make it happen. That's sort of what happened there. It just clicked, just all fell together. I didn't quite say shut up and take my money because I did have to think about it. But basically signed on the dotted line and transferred a bucket load of money over to the dive centre and started doing courses. Started diving again. My dry suit and my wing arrived just in time before I went on holiday, so they got loaded up in my truck. And first dives with those were actually in the Faroe Islands. And it was fantastic, and it was just so good to be underwater again. And yeah, so that's sort of up to how I got started again last year.
Oh man, I love that story, especially because it's the fact that you took that long of a break, got back in the water, and essentially, like you were explaining, it was like riding a bike all over again. Like you just remembered how to do the skills. That's good training to be able to jump back into it after 11, 12 years. So that must have been an amazing moment. Do you remember the exact moment that you submerged and went under? Was it just like, did it all come rushing back before you even got to the skills?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I've always loved about diving, be it free diving or scuba diving, basically going underwater is the world turns off. It's that peace. The quarry where we dive it's really peaceful, but you can hear the wind, you can hear the birds, and you go underwater and then you just hear your breath. It's that moment, that moment as well. It's just where your ears go under the water and everything just goes silent. That moment for me is magic. I mean, I remembered the buddy checks and all that stuff, and then you check your eggs, put your face underwater, just make sure that you can breathe. That was all perfectly normal. I didn't have any problems with that at all. But then it was just sinking down for the first time where the world just switched off. That was just pure magic. And it was, yes, I've missed this. I've missed this so much. And I didn't even know I'd missed it until it's like one of those things. Yeah, I mean, diving's always been fantastic. I've always loved it, but it was up until that moment I hadn't realised how much I'd missed it.
I love that, man. I love that.
It was just fantastic. It was just really, really good to be back underwater.
Ah, that's so cool, man. So 2 questions. You could start wherever. When you started your journey back into it, was that when the blog, the simonbdiving, was that kind of when that formulated, like, oh, I want to capture my journey? Or did you start the classes and then say, hey, I want to document this somehow? Like, how did the blog start? Was it before or during? Like, tell me about a little bit about that. I love the motto, by the way. It's actually what brought me in from, what is it? Hold on.
From couch potato to dive professional. Yeah, I mean, you can't really see it because I'm wearing a nice baggy jumper and I'm sat down, so you can't see. But I am overweight. I'm semi-active, so I do go out and do stuff 2-3 times a week. But I am overweight and I have spent more time on the couch than I should have. So I just thought it was a bit tongue in cheek. I'm not really a couch potato. I can be a couch potato if I want to, but I do like being out and being active. But just to get back to the question about the blog started when I decided to start diving again. So that was basically after I'd spoken to Claire. It was this actually sounds like a really cool thing. And I'd spoken to a couple of friends. They say, yeah, they really want to know about how it's going to go. And I've been thinking about sort of starting a blog, starting a vlog. So the idea was more that I was going to start a YouTube video log. And yeah, I haven't got around to doing that yet. I've sort of got the YouTube channel. I've done a couple of videos, but the idea was to basically document the journey of going effectively from zero to hero, as the scuba board guys put it. So from a dive beginner to a dive professional. I don't think I'd consider myself a dive beginner anymore. For the first couple of dives, probably yes, but I've got back into it now. Still only at 75 dives, but so a dive baby compared to a lot of people, but I don't think that I'd consider myself a beginner anymore. And I was just thinking that it might be interesting for other people to read about it. So that's when I registered the domain, put the blog together, came up with the logo on a whim. Actually, just playing around with Adobe Express and just sort of because there's the sort of logo designer in Adobe Express.
That's the online one, right?
Yeah, that's the online. It's basically Adobe's version of Canva.
Yeah.
It's actually a really cool tool, but I've had a Creative Cloud subscription for God knows how many years. So it's just, yeah, let's give this a go. Just said something diving, something simple logo, and then it came up with this old scuba diving mask in a circle. It looked a bit naff, so I ended up drawing my own old scuba diving mask in a circle, and so I did that in Illustrator. But that's where the logo came together, and it was actually, so I've got a logo now. My main personal Instagram account is Simon B Photos. So okay, Simon B Diving is a nice sort of additional YouTube account. And I didn't really want to mix up the two of them because most of my friends who follow me, or most of the people who follow me on the other account, which is not that many people, I guess, but they're probably all not interested in diving. They're interested in pretty pictures of the mountains and pretty pictures of people when I take pretty pictures of people now and then. So that's basically everything that happens on my main Instagram account. So I thought, okay, just set up a dedicated diving one. Okay, Simon B Diving, simonbdiving.com, domain's free. Okay, that's going to be a good spot to put a blog. Simon B Diving at YouTube is free as well. Okay, good. I'm branded. I have a brand. What am I going to do with it? I haven't got a fucking clue, mate. So, just to put it very bluntly, sorry, I said I'd try not to swear too much. Okay. So basically, that's where that started. And then in my Simple Note app, I've got a whole list of content of stuff that I want to put on the blog, that I want to create videos about. I'm not very comfortable talking to a camera. I bought a GoPro, and I don't know if a GoPro is the right camera to be recording videos at home, just sort of sat at my desk talking to a GoPro about stuff. But I was talking to Ellie, Scuba Ellie, a few weeks ago, and one of the things that she was saying is just do it. Just don't be nervous. Everybody's an idiot on camera. Just sit down and do it. So I've got 2 weeks off now, so I'll probably get 1 or 2 videos knocked out over the next week or so.
Oh man, that's and that is a lot harder said than done though sometimes, because I definitely know how that goes, because like I've been trying to create more video, and I think one thing that the podcast lacks is I don't do any video, and I think that's kind of a big downside to it, because video is I don't want to say it's everything these days, but I'm in the same boat. Like I'm trying, and this past trip that I just went on, I was able to, I'm like, okay, I'm getting video. Like I'm going to just record tons of video, and I'm going to do something with the video. So I get it. Like I completely understand. Like it's not the easiest thing in the world to do. It really is a talent. I give lots of credit to people that can produce and create these amazing reels and content, because it's not, I wouldn't call it a green thumb, but I don't have the video thumb, Yeah,
I mean, my day job is in broadcast software, but I've got a lot of video editing sort of knowledge accumulated over the years, so I'm quite happy with editing videos in Premiere. It's more that the lovely word body dysmorphia. I don't like myself on pictures, which is why I became a photographer, because then I've got the camera and nobody's taking pictures of me because I'm taking the pictures, so I don't end up on pictures. I don't really like looking at myself that much, so the thought of staring at a screen and then spending 2 hours staring at myself while I'm trying to put that together to a video is, oh my God, it's just a scary thought. And I think at the end of the day, you just need to get over it and just do it. Probably what I will end up doing is it's a tricky one. I mean, I did create a video when I was up in the Faroe Islands, of the dives there. So the long form video is about 5 minutes on YouTube, and I cut that into like 3 reels, sort of 3 parts for Instagram. Because one of the things I really hate about Instagram Reels, sorry, this is a pet peeve of mine, Instagram Reels are vertical video. I hate vertical video. It's actually really good on a phone because, I mean, I always find myself consuming vertical videos. I just think the thought of vertical videos is wrong because, I mean, human eyes, they're wide angle and narrow. So, I mean, 16:9 wide angle or 16:9 landscape video is actually a really good format. But one thing I really hate is people, they make 16:9 landscape, goes on YouTube, and what do they do for the Instagram content? Just take the center out of it and they just say, okay, bam, render it out as 16:9 vertical. And it's just a cut out of the middle. So you got half of the content missing. If there's text on the screen, you got half of the text missing. And it's just, why? It's actually not that hard to take the same content, take the same cuts, just change the sequence format and change your graphics format. If you've got graphics in there, I mean, to create those vertical reels, it took me all of like 15 minutes. I'm a perfectionist as well, so I mean, that doesn't help. If I do something, I want to do it properly. But making those vertical reels was actually really easy after I'd done the long form edit in the horizontal. It's a tricky thing. I'm still sort of trying to get my head around what I actually want to do. With the blog, with the YouTube content, but it's sort of, 2024, I definitely want to get more moving on there. For lack of content over the past month or so, I put all of the powerboat stuff on there, so about my skipper exam and how I got there. I just found when I started writing that became so much content that it ended up being 2 articles, which could have been 3, I guess. But yeah, I'll get there. I haven't quite got the right vision for it. I've got the idea, I've got the goal of where I want to be. I just don't know how I'm going to get there right now. So
honestly, there's so many similarities there that I can relate to. Just to bring it back like slightly, you were kind of saying like, oh, I can be a couch potato. Like, dude, you're preaching to the choir over here. Like when I chat with people, I was actually just editing an episode earlier today, and one of the first questions I asked was like, how do you stay motivated? Because this was a very highly motivated individual doing a lot of things. I'm like, what are your tips and tricks? Because I can easily find myself just sitting on the couch watching some Netflix. And if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I'll be 45 in 2 months.
Oh, okay. So I'm about to turn 41, and I'm like, I feel like I need to get on this journey of like right now, I feel like I could go both ways. Like I need to try to get into shape because like I could see it very easily going one way or the other. So I'm like on this constant journey of like, okay, I need to stay motivated. I need to eat better. I can't take down the 2 hamburgers I could, 3 hamburgers when I was in my early 20s, like the metabolism's not there. So and it's hard for me, and the way that somebody put it, they're like, you just got to do it. Like, don't have that conversation with yourself. Just like, okay, I'm going to the gym or I'm going to do this. And I felt that I was able. I don't want to say it was like cheating in a way. It's not cheating, but most of my jobs and my lifestyle was like surrounded around active. I lived in the mountains. I was just snowboarding all the time. So I was constantly active. And then I like moved to Texas and it's hot as hell out there all the time. And I wasn't really doing anything. So I felt like I just started kind of gaining some weight. And then I'm like, okay, I need to do something active. I got a different job. I got a very active job where I was working on boats. I was out on the lake every day and it was keeping me active. And then I moved to Malaysia, and the area of Malaysia that I'm in is just very well known for its food, amazing food everywhere. And then my job that I moved to, I'm sitting at a desk every day. Like I'm not active at all. And I literally just felt like I gained so much weight since I moved here. And I'm like, dude, I have to change this. I have to like do something because I need to. So no, I can completely relate to you on that. And it's something that I'm trying to change my mindset. And that's actually, to be honest, a huge reason why your blog appealed to me. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of other people that it's like, oh, okay, like it's easy to go this way, but that's awesome that you're documenting it and you're making the change. I think that's amazing, dude. And then on the photography side of it, so you've been doing photography for quite a while?
Yeah, it was about the time that I was turning 30. I had a bit of a quarter life crisis. I was working at university, still trying to get a degree, I had about 10 years of work experience at that point, and I still didn't have a bachelor's degree despite having spent 12 years at university. But that was just, I was working full time at the institute, and it was, at some point, I didn't see much point in getting a bachelor's degree. And because all of the job adverts I was looking at was, 5 years work experience or a bachelor's degree, 10 years work experience or a master's degree, 15 years or a PhD. And it was just, do I really need a bachelor's degree with the work experience I've got right now? So as much as I enjoy working computers, I don't really enjoy working with computers. It pays the bills. I'm very, very good at it. Otherwise, the company wouldn't have wanted me back, I guess. It is good fun. I work with some amazing people. I get to do some really cool stuff, but I hate computers. I really hate computers, which is a little bit strange now after doing IT for 25 years to sort of be saying that. Yeah, so when I was 30, it was sort of, what do I actually want to do? What do I want to do with my life? Where do I want to be? I'm 30. I haven't got any formal qualifications. Of course, I can keep on doing computers until I die, which will pay the bills very well, but do I really want to do that? So in Austria, photography is an apprenticeship journeyman master scheme. It's always been that. They changed the legislation 15 years ago that you could just go straight in and do the mastery exam. And at the time, you had it was one of the protected trades. So there's a number of trades that you have to have the master's qualification to be able to go into business self-employed in that trade. So photography was one of them, which at the time, okay, let's do this. So it was one of the options. The other options I discussed with my partner were shot down. Commercial diving was one of the options I was looking at, and that was, no, you're not doing that. It's dangerous and you'll be away a lot. So, okay, not going to be a commercial diver, but photography. Yeah, photography's good. Photography I can do from home. So, okay. So I did all the courses, got into photography more, took my business license exam, then I took the master's exam, and then started building up a sideline as a photographer. And then lost the job I was in at the time, so I had to look for another job at fairly short notice, send out 4 applications on a Friday evening and had 3 interviews lined up by Tuesday morning, so it wasn't too bad. But that meant that when I then started a new job, I was right at the cusp of trying to build up the photography, but then I had to spend 2 months in Sweden with the new job and ended up spending time traveling, and there was just no time to build up the photography on the side, so it sort of fell by the wayside. I did a couple of weddings every year just to sort of stay in the game. Did some portrait stuff, again, just to stay in the game, but it was not quite as fulfilling as I'd hoped it to be. And the job that I'd started working, which is the job I've still got, was actually a really enjoyable job. So it wasn't too bad that it didn't sort of materialize, but it's a feather in my quiver that I've got, or it's an arrow in my quiver that I could pick up and do. So yeah, I've been playing around with cameras now since 16 years.
What do you shoot with?
Nikon.
You can't do video on your camera?
It's a D800. It's a fairly old camera. It would do video, but it will only do full HD. The GoPro does 4K, and it's also really heavy and bulky. So the camera body itself weighs just over 1 kilo. I've got 2 of the big 3 lenses, the 2470, the 7200. They both weigh 1.5 kilos each. Put a flash on top, that's another kilo, and then you're looking at 3.5 kilos in your hand. So it's big and heavy. It takes awesome pictures.
I do photography as like an amateur type thing. I'm pretty sure mine can do video, and I've thought about like setting up the camera to do video, to do more, try to add more video. But I felt like we got a little bit off track there. Completely my fault. So the scuba journey, you got back into it. Where are you currently right now?
So right now, I'm actually doing my rescue course this weekend, finally. Yeah, on Sunday, I'm doing the first day of Stress and Rescue.
Awesome.
So I was supposed to do it in January, and I had a bad cold. And I thought, okay, we're not going deep because a lot of it is just exercises at 3 to 5 meters on the containers. So I did go and try. I got in the water, got kitted up, went underwater, got down to 2 meters, couldn't do anything with my ears, so I got out of the water again. So I didn't do my Stress and Rescue back in January. And it's taken a while for the centre to organise another course because they needed some more people to do it. So it's now on this weekend, next weekend. So I'll be doing Stress and Rescue over the next 2 weekends. That's the only thing that I'm still missing to be able to start with the dive guide.
Is that SSI, Stress and Rescue, and then Dive Guide?
Yeah, that's SSI. We won't get into agency wars, but the dive centre is an SSI centre. and I like the philosophy, and it's working for me right now.
Yeah. No, my first certifications actually were all SSI. I went from open water to I actually did complete my dive guide, and then I think there's assistant instructor is after the dive guide. I think because the dive guide's
Yeah,
equivalent to the dive master, correct?
yeah, that's right. The SSI pathway is the entry level professional qualification is dive guide. Then, if you do Science of Diving specialty, which is just an online course, if you do that and you've got your dive guide, you then become a dive master. And then the next step from there is assistant instructor, then you become an instructor. I haven't looked at the PADI stuff too closely, but I think once you're an open water instructor in PADI, to get to the next step, which is the master, is that the master scuba diver trainer?
Yes.
Yeah, you've got to do another course for that one, I think. But in SSI, they give you recognition for the number of certifications you've given out. So once you've given out, like, I don't know the numbers, let's say it's 25 open water certifications, you have become an advanced open water instructor, and then you're allowed to do more stuff. But the thing I like about it is the experience points. So it's sort of like a role-playing game. You do stuff and you get XP for it. And with that XP, you get more qualifications that you can do more. It's the same thing with the normal diver progression. They don't actually have a formal advanced open water diver. So what you do is you have to have 4 specialties, which is the same as in PADI. They just wrap the 4 specialties into this advanced open water course. But there's no prescription on the specialties you have to do. For the SSI Advanced Open Water Dive, you need 24 dives and 4 specialties. And you become an advanced open water diver with 50 dives and stress and rescue and 4 specialties. You then become a master diver. I'm effectively an advanced open water diver. I've got my deep qualification, doing my rescue this weekend and next weekend. Fingers crossed that all goes well, and then I'll be a rescue diver after that, and then heading into the dive master stuff.
Are you planning to try to get any specialties under your belt, or more? I should say more specialties.
More specialties. Well, I had to do a load to get ready for the dive master stuff. So I did navigation, deep,
Nitrox.
I've already had nitrox. So I got NDI, TDI advanced nitrox back in Austria a long time ago. So without the decompression procedures, but with advanced nitrox. So I'm 100% nitrox qualified. So it was deep decompression, navigation.
Is it like a search and recovery?
I'd like to do that, but it's not on the cards right now. Like I said, I'd like to. I just want to get cracking onto the dive guide stuff, and then the other specialties will follow eventually, I guess. So full face mask is one I'd definitely like to do. Search and recovery would be a good one. I've looked at some of the other qualifications, and I think, or some of the other specialties, and sort of like computer diving. What is that? I mean, why would you want to get that specialty? Sort of, I'm probably talking against somebody's business right now, but I think, computer diving, everybody gets in the water with a dive computer now. Do you really need a specialty for that? That having been said, I did have to show a guy a couple of weeks ago how to change on his Aqualung computer, how to change the depth for his safety stop, because his computer wasn't kicking in with everyone else's for the safety stop. It was set to 3 meters rather than 5 meters. So he never ended up with a safety stop and was always very confused when everybody else stopped at 5 meters. And it was, my watch isn't saying anything. Hi, Pete. And so there's a whole range of specialties. The ecology specialties look quite interesting, so I'll probably do a couple of those. But for the practical specialties, I'm more or less where I want to be right now. And so technical side, that's where I want to go. So so the SSI decompression procedures is what I will be doing probably at the end of April, depending if that date happens. It was supposed to happen in February, but reasons and it didn't happen. And then I'm going to the Faroe Islands at the end of May to go diving with Bogey out there, and we'll be doing sort of an intro to tech, basically just doing a load of fun dives, but getting to grips with twin set and stage handling. So really looking forward to going back to the Faroes. It's an amazing place. Yeah, so that's sort of the plan for the next few months. Dive guide, intro to tech, decompression, and then sort of see where I am at that point.
Intro to Tech, is that an SSI one? Because I know that's a TDI one as well.
No, Bogey is, I think he's an INTD instructor. It's not. Okay. It's not going to be an official course. It's basically just going out there and just sort of learning how to use a twin set with him while we're doing fun dives. So that's sort of the plan. We haven't formalized it as a course or anything. It's just, but it is effectively the same as Intro to Tech. So I mean, with TDI, Intro to Tech is basically just hanging around at 5 to 10 meters with a twin set and a long hose and working out how to do valve drills, how to do long hose donation and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's effectively what we're going to be doing.
How are you feeling about going into that, the technical side of it?
I should have done it about 12 years ago. But yes. No, I'm really looking forward to it. Again, my background was very safety oriented when I started to dive. And one thing I don't understand here in the UK, or most of the rest of the world actually, is even on single tanks, we only use a single first stage. And my teaching was single tank, 2 first stages with separate valves. It's on a single tank, but both of the first stages are on separate valves, just for the cold water aspect. And I recently got my new Mares regs, and the Mares regulators actually said in water less than 4 degrees, do not run 2 regulators off the first stage. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's what we're doing. We've got an octopus. We're not using it, but you've got 2 first stages. You've got 2 second stages on your first stage in cold water. And the regulator handbook says do not do that. But everybody here in the UK does. And I'm not going to be able to change the UK, but it doesn't make sense to me because of the safety aspect. But then again, there's the argument, how often does a first stage actually freeze? I haven't dived much, but I've never heard of a first stage freezing. Second stage, I've had a second stage freeze and blow out. That was when I was ice diving. I was told not to breathe above the water. What do? You get in the water, you put your regulator in, you take a deep breath, then you breathe out, and then bam, your regulator starts blowing off because it's minus 14 degrees outside and your regulator's just frozen. Yay. I was told not to do it. I did. I know now why.
Push the red button. Don't push the red button. And then, of course.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the solution there was really easy. The regulator was blowing off. You just put it in the water, bam, it's sorted. But again, I think 2 first stages make sense to me. A twin set makes sense to me because I suck air like there's no tomorrow. My sac is about 18 to 20 litres. Because I'm overweight, because I've got very big lungs. I'm trying to work on that, but a twin set would just give me more freedom, more time. I'm just looking forward to it. It's a type of diving that makes sense to me, that resonates with me.
And then you recently just went to a dive show.
Yeah, the Go Diving Show, the UK's only dive show. At least that's the slogan. It was amazing. I mean, you've probably read my blog post about it, but it was basically, I'm an introvert, I'm shy, I don't do well in big social situations, especially since I've been living on my own and working from home for the last 5 years, which was absolute bliss. It was fantastic. COVID didn't change anything for me. I just went to the supermarket less. Yeah, so I did put myself in an uncomfortable situation just by going there, but I was really looking forward to it because there were some people there that I wanted to meet. So there were some talks I was looking forward to going to, and it was just sort of the big thing. Everybody went to Bort in Dusseldorf at the beginning of the year, and everybody was saying, "Are you going? Are you going?" It's, fuck it, I didn't know it was happening this year. Well, of course I knew it was happening. It's the biggest boat show in the world since 75 years or something. So yes, of course it was happening. I just didn't have it on my radar that there's a big diving section there and that it's in January. Otherwise, I would have probably planned to go for a couple of days, and it's actually in my diary for next year. So I do want to go to the boat show next year in Dusseldorf because it just looked like amazing fun. So I thought, okay, Mini Boat is the Go Diving Show in Coventry. I got a free ticket because I got my advanced open water ticket last year. So yay, decided to go. And it was amazing. It wasn't quite as big as I was expecting. It was still more than big enough. So there was an awful lot to see. There were a lot of holiday destinations and liveaboard and dive vacation providers and people trying to hock dive holidays. Wasn't that interested in that. All of the big manufacturers were there. I mean, the Apex stand was absolutely amazing. Sort of like with 3 stores. They had a shipping container that just lifted on hydraulics, and then they had a second floor, and then they had a 3rd floor balcony on top of that with a big screen on one side showing awesome product videos. And so the Apex stand was very, very impressive. And their new 50-year anniversary regulator, oh my God, I was drooling over it. It was, and they even got it out of the box and let me have a look at it closely. And it was, yes, if I had £1,000 to drop on this, I would give you £1,000 right now and take it with me because it's a beautiful piece of kit. Do I need it? No, but oh my God, it's beautiful. So the Apex stand was really cool. The Mares SSI Everything All Together stand. So it was basically the Mares sort of group. They had the Revo rebreathers there as well. So Peter from Revo was talking to me about the Revo rebreather a bit. and which was really interesting. But it was more about the people. So the first talk I went to was Ranva J. Yormanson. I can't remember her surname, sorry. She's head of sales for Fourth Element, and she's from the Faroe Islands. And her best friend is Bogey, the guy who runs the dive centre in the Faroe Islands, where I went diving in September. And it was really funny because I was actually driving. Bogey wasn't there. He was on holiday with his family, but he'd organised one of his dive guides when I went diving there. And when I was driving to the dive centre, I was listening to Big Scuba podcast, and there was an interview with Ramba. And then she was saying, oh, yeah, she's from the Faroes and she goes diving with Bogey. And I was just thinking, I just sent an email to this guy and now I'm hearing about him on a podcast. So she was doing a talk about some expeditions. So I wanted to go and listen to that, and then went up and introduced myself after that. And she was so friendly. It was really, really nice. I ran into Ellie, so Scuba Ellie. She was on the real diving stand. It was lovely to finally meet her because we've been chatting on Instagram a bit. Then Aquanauts Granada, Tiff and Tyler, they were so much fun. Been chatting to them on Instagram a bit as well. And it was just the community, the sense of everybody who's there wanted to be there, and everybody who was there had the same interests. And they were just also open and welcoming. And it was just like, yeah, this is my tribe. This is my place. And it was just a really good feeling. And it was a good weekend. It was a long weekend. It was mentally stressful a little bit. But at the end of it, it was worth it. It was very, very much worth it. So it was fantastic.
Oh, that's awesome. No, that sounds great. I actually have not been to that many dive shows, and the only ones that I've been to have been in Asia. There's a pretty big one, ADEX, that they hold in Singapore, and then there's some I don't want to say local ones, but there's two that I've been to in Malaysia, the Malaysia International Dive Expo, and then DRT, which is like Dive Resort and Travel Expo. It's nice because my girlfriend just got certified last year, so it's kind of nice. We'll do a little bit of both. I'll go there to network and meet people, to get people, on the podcast, then just to meet people, like-minded people, like you're saying. We all want to be there. It's all, a big tribe, we're there for diving. And then, but also we can go there and catch some good deals on some trips. We put down a deposit for somewhere in Indonesia. I can't even remember where. It's just the timing, like, oh yeah, that sounds good. Here's some money. We'll, do a deposit, and then we'll try to figure out when we can make it there.
So if somebody asks you, so where are you going on holiday? I haven't got a clue. We pay the deposit. We'll go there eventually. I like that. That is me as well.
The nice thing too is it's like, okay, the deposit's paid, so now we have to go. We don't have a choice. Like, we have to go. So we're gonna
yeah, just do it before you move away from Southeast Asia, maybe.
Yeah. But what about any besides the Faroe Islands? Any other travel destinations in mind? Any time in Southeast Asia? That's where you got to come out here, man. It's some beautiful diving out here.
Actually, one of my only foreign dives was in Indonesia. A guy I knew was sailing around the world, and he asked me to join him on the leg from Bali to Singapore. Well, this was 2010, shortly after I was qualified. Then we stopped off at Belitung. It's right between the Java Sea and the South China Sea. Small island, 100,000 people live there. They get 5,000 tourists a year. So it's pristine, unspoiled, amazing. And in the anchorage where we were, there was a guy who was offering dive trips. So I went out diving with him near Lenkwas. Was it Lenkwas? Can't remember. There's an old Dutch lighthouse, and there's a wreck sort of close to it, and we went out there. I had a leaky tank. I didn't have enough weight. It was an awesome dive. It was good fun. But I definitely want to come back to Indonesia because, what I saw of Indonesia, Bali was very touristy. We went to Kalimantan, so we went up the Kumai River, and we did a river trip from there. And Kumai used to be a mining town, and they're sort of now just slowly discovering, or at the time they were slowly discovering tourism. They were sort of trying to be touristy like in Bali, but they were sort of very pushy about it. And it was just sort of, it didn't feel very nice. Bali was just, yeah, okay, they're touristy. They're trying to fleece you, and they're making they're not even pretending that they're not trying to fleece you. It's just, they just know you're a white guy. We can get money off you. And I didn't like that, but Bali as an island was amazing. And then in Kalimantan, it was, yeah, we're trying to fleece you. We're trying to make a secret of it. And it was, yeah, okay, that doesn't really work. But Belitung, it was, oh my God, white people. This is so cool that people are coming here. come to dinner. They were welcoming. It was everywhere you went. It was hello, mister. And so all the kids everywhere, they were just so happy to see foreigners. And it was, God, that sounds so arrogant, but it was an amazing place to be because it was completely unspoiled. I'm not sure what it's like now, but at the time, the only way to get there was with Indonesian Airlines or with a ferry. And Indonesian Airlines was barred by the European flight associations at the time because the only way you could get an air ticket to Belitung was to actually buy it in Jakarta or get on the ferry from Java over to Belitung. So we sailed there and it was amazing. So I really want to go back.
That's one of the things that I absolutely love about Indonesia is there are some very high tourist areas where, I mean, it's just no Bali. I mean, it's just known for, all around the world. People know Bali, but they don't even know Indonesia.
Yeah.
But there are some very remote places in Indonesia still that, there might be one or two dive centers and it's just a very remote place and it's completely off the beaten path. And even like one place, I think just because it's it's a lot more difficult to get to, the travel and everything. But I mean, it's very well known, but it's not as traveled as much because usually you have to do a liveaboard. But Raja Ampat, you'll find some of the most amazing, pristine places there, but not many people go there because it's such a journey to get over there. And yeah, there's just some amazing places to go. And even in the Borneo side of Malaysia, there's some amazing places on the east coast of peninsular Malaysia. So that's kind of the Philippines. And that's what I love about it is there's some really just amazing, pristine places, but you just kind of have to put the time in to get there. And that's what's kind of cool is meeting some people on the podcast that are exploring and going out to these amazing places. So I love hearing things like that.
Yeah, I heard, was it Marika? The second to last episode was this girl who'd just gone out to the Tugian Islands. Megan, yeah. So she'd been out there and was just completely off grid for 2 weeks. That sounds amazing. I want to go there.
Yeah. And she's in Raja Ampat right now. So she's doing some amazing travels and no, that's why that's another thing I love about diving is when you start having conversations with people, it's like, oh, where did you go? And then they start telling you about it. And then you're like, okay, well, there's another one for the list. Here's another one for the list. And the list just keeps getting longer and longer. So.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I'm a cold water diver. I like cold water. I like the dry suit, the heavy wetsuit stuff. Warm water diving is amazing, but the cold water diving is challenging and it teaches you to dive. That was the thing that when we went to Italy that first time, it was jumped off the boat into 22-degree water. You could see down to the bottom in 27 meters. It was like diving in a bathtub. It was so easy. I think that's what I like about cold water diving is it makes the warm water diving so much easier. But I did check my dive statistics a couple of weeks ago. I have 5 dives that were warmer than 15 degrees.
Okay.
So yeah, I need to go somewhere warm for some warm diving, I guess.
Yeah, man, there's a lot of good places out there.
I was actually thinking this year for Christmas, I'd like to just go away for like 3 weeks to somewhere warm and find an internship as a dive guide or as an instructor, just for a few weeks. So maybe Canary Islands. Did look at going to the Caribbean, but the flights at Christmas are really expensive, so maybe not go to the Caribbean. But go somewhere warm for Christmas if I can find a shop that will have me for 3 weeks and just go and do some interning.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a lot of fun. Well, let me throw out my last question for you before I let you go enjoy the rest of your day. So, somebody that has taken an extended break and they want to get back into diving, what piece of advice could you give to that person?
Put a date on it. Don't say next year. Don't be a dick like I was. If you haven't dived for a long time, you want to get back in the water, you're going to be nervous. I was nervous. Sometimes I'm still nervous before dives now anyway. Basically, do it. Put a date on it. Just don't keep saying, yeah, someday. Okay, what's stopping you from getting in the water? What's stopping you from going back diving? So in my case, it was I didn't know where to go. I didn't have regs. I didn't have a BC. Okay, right, let's just have a look at those 3 problems. Where'd you go? Use the fucking internet, mate. Sorry. But Google is your friend. Pull up Google, dive club near me. Best thing to put in there, and it will probably come up with a dive club within, well, if you don't live in the back end of absolutely nowhere where it's dry in the Sahara Desert, you will probably find a dive club within like about 15 miles of where you live. And divers are friendly people. Might not seem like it. Some of them are a bit curmudgeonly, but generally divers are friendly people. And a dive club will probably have regs and BCs that you can borrow. There you go. That's 3 of your problems sorted right there. What's stopping you now? It's your head. How do you sort that one out? Well, sorry, I can't help you with that one. But basically, just go and do it. People are friendly. And I mean, the other one is I don't have anyone to go diving with. I don't have a dive buddy. I joined the club. I still don't always have a dive buddy, but there are people that there's potential to go diving with people. And once you start getting back into it, you will find people who are at a similar stage, who are at a similar situation, a similar level of dive. The nice thing about diving is that people gravitate to other people, and it sort of forms these little like clumps of people who are all sort of more or less at the same level, doing more or less the same thing. And I mean, what else might be stopping you? I don't know what type of diving I want to do. Well, if you don't know all the different types of diving there are, you will never know what you want to do. Try everything. So, I mean, I'm doing an SCR course later this year, so the Maris Horizon. I want to get into rebreather diving at some point, but yeah, SCR, I've got the opportunity to do in that course, so I'll try it. I don't know if I'll like it, but I'm going to be trying it. Dry suit diving, will I like it? Actually, yes, I do. Never done it before, but yes, tried it. It's amazing. So basically, just go out and try things. It sounds really trite, that sort of advice, just do it. But if you don't make the conscious decision that you're going to do it, you'll never will. It will always be, oh, I'd like to go diving again. I'd like to go diving again. I did that for 11 years. And it was always, yeah, there's this reason, there's that reason, there's this other reason. Still, at the end of the day, if you don't make the conscious decision to actually do it, you're never going to do it. And there's your soundbite for the podcast, probably.
I love it, man. I love it when it just presents itself. But no, that just do it and put a date on it. I love it, and I honestly don't think that there's any better advice that you can give than that. Just because that's literally the battle right there. So put a date and just do it.
Yeah, and I mean the follow up from that is if you put a date on it and it doesn't happen, don't sweat it. Put a next date on it and make it happen. And for me, I put a date on it and everything happened 4 months earlier. So,
Simon, I really appreciate you coming on to the podcast today, man. This has been awesome. And I look forward to seeing you in your journey and to see, where it's going to go. And I also, like I said, man, we gotta plan a trip, and you got to make it to Southeast Asia, and we could do some diving here. And the warm water, I understand the cold water is your thing, but warm water has a place in everybody's hearts. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I'll definitely give you a shout if I'm coming out that way. 2025 I haven't got any plans for 2025 yet, so let's see what happens there. But thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. It took a bit longer than 25 minutes. Sorry. But no, I've really enjoyed chatting to you, and I look forward to seeing what you're doing with the podcast, because I think it's great. It's always fantastic entertainment. Yeah, I mean, some of the people you've had on here are an absolute blast, and I've been pissing myself laughing listening to some of the episodes. So just keep on doing it, and thank you.
Off-gassing, a Scuba podcast.